Hey, so we're going to get started tonight with a reminder that if you have not signed on to Edmodo and created your Edmodo account, we should definitely do that now. Let's see where those codes are. And again, we're just waiting for, whoops, this is not us, the rest of the group to get here. Okay. Giving everyone a couple of minutes. If you weren't here last week, hopefully you got a chance to check out the video that was posted onto YouTube. It seems like the video that posted from the 7 p.m. webinar, your guys' webinar was fine. The other one was cut a little short, so hopefully you saw that. You get to see some of the behind the scenes here. Oh, we have a question. Does it say I'm registered in your Edmodo class? Let's check it out. Okay, so your Edmodo codes, depending on if you're in Charlotte or Winston-Salem, are going to be, whoops. So we went through this. Here we are. Either Winston-Salem, IM, EMRB, and then that Charlotte is the 6XS FRA. Not expecting you to memorize that, but let's go check out Edmodo and see what I'm talking about. If you have not created an Edmodo account, then you'll go to edmodo.com, and information about this should be sent in the email, but it might be helpful if you get to kind of see visually what's happening. So you go to edmodo.com, and then you got to sign up. And you can use your parents' email, but you cannot sign up as a teacher. It's not going to send you to the right place. You should sign up as a student. And then you'll need that group code, and that's this. And these group codes should have been sent to you or your parents in an email. And then let me log into mine, and I can see who's in the classes. Here we are. Let's look at Winston-Salem. 16 members. Ooh, Margot. And then who are we looking for? Who was asking me? It was Ella Cleary. And let's take a look at our Imagine-On. And we have 7 members in Imagine-On, so hopefully we can grow this. And Ella, you're there. Wonderful. Okay. All right, it's 6:03. Hopefully we have a few more members arriving at this point, or have arrived at this point. Again, if we missed you on Wednesday, we just got to get you signed up to Edmodo, and you can see that once you actually go to the posts page, I will post. There is a different, I hope Ingrid has made it. I will send the note out looking for Ingrid. You'll see that I've posted the YouTube from last week, and then that's actually the channel. You can go to that same playlist every week, and I'll help you posting to it. But also, there's going to be different posts there. You can see in some of my other groups, people have started posting about. See if anyone can find it. Mr. Dubik. I had one group that was posting about some 3D printed food, which I thought was pretty cool. But anyway, let's see if Caitlin's with us. Caitlin, it looks like you had a question, but you did get that. Can you raise your hand if you got that answered? Great. Why do I earn badges in Edmodo? Ella, ooh, okay, a lot of questions all of a sudden. earning badges that has to do with like online classes. So sometimes you can take these online learning type classes. I don't think that Young Engineers of Today offers one, but I can definitely ask about that. Let me write that down. And then hold on, let me ask about Ingrid. But I'm gonna have to come back to that. Let's see, badges. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. When do we do Minecraft? Anna, not for a little bit. We got to wait for all the hardware to come in, and you get your Raspberry Pi, and you'll get those, and you should be getting those in lab. Okay, so I'm going to put everyone's hands down. Oh, I know, I'm sorry. But if you want to find a really cool picture of Minecraft and put it on your, or talk about Minecraft on your Google site, go for it. Go nuts. Okay. Let's see. Is anyone here this week that wasn't here last week? Oh, great. Raise your hand. Okay, Isel. Isel, would you, everyone last, oh, Ingrid, I'm so glad you found us. I was worried that after the Edmodo post that, that you wouldn't find us. I was wondering if anyone was here. So at the beginning of class last week, we did some introductions where people could kind of talk about what grade they were in, what their name was. I don't want to be butchering anyone's name. And then they could also, say what interests them in engineering. And if anyone missed out on Wednesday and wants to introduce themselves to this learning community, please raise your hand. Great. Isel, and I'm going to unmute you, so everyone's going to be able to hear you. Hey there, Isel.
Hi, my name is Isel Longman, and I am in 5th grade.
Great.
I ride horses as a hobby.
Oh, cool. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for being brave. I know sometimes that microphone can get intimidating, but hopefully you're going to get used to it as the semester continues. Okay, Anna, we are currently, if you didn't get a chance to introduce yourself last week and would like to, go ahead. But Anna, I believe you did introduce yourself last week. Let me check. Yes, you did. Great. Okay, I am, let's continue. This looks like, yeah, I'm going to put everyone's hand down. And again, I'll be doing the, I'll be monitoring the questions, but continuing along with the webinar as well. And last week, the last thing we kind of went over was making these Google accounts, and we'll get back to that. And then taking that survey. And now we're going to talk a little bit about, we may have gotten into this a little bit, but we're going to talk about what it takes to be an engineer, what aptitudes make you a good engineer. Right, because that's what we're doing this semester. So this is a couple of cool pictures I do want to point out. This is Mr. Dubik, who you're going to meet in lab. He's right here. This is Mr. Dubik many, many moons ago, right in that center frame. And they made, him and his engineering class made the largest paper airplane. It was like a model airplane, I guess you could say. Very cool. So he's been teaching engineering for a long time, so he has some great advice. So what are some aptitudes that that make you a good engineer? Well, engineers do a lot of math, and they also do a lot of science, because engineering is the application of math and science for the betterment of society, and we'll get to that in just a second. Engineers are problem solvers. You take a huge problem, a really big problem, and if you can break it down into manageable parts that you can solve using math and science, well, then that's what an engineer does. It might seem daunting at the beginning, but really the challenging part is breaking down your big problem into smaller problems, and then doing the research you need to do to figure out how to solve them. We'll be doing a little bit of that this semester. Perseverance. We are going to be working on this, and this is something my high schoolers need to get a little better at as well. With problem solving, a lot of times it's not a step-by-step process. You do a lot of quote-unquote troubleshooting. where you're not quite sure where your problem is, you're not quite sure how to solve it, but you go through a systematic process of trying to figure out, using a certain amount of tools in your toolkit to figure out, well, how can I approach this problem? What can I do to solve it? But you can't give up if you don't get it in the first couple minutes. This is something that takes a lot of time. I know me and Mr. Dubik a lot of times spend a long time working on a problem before we find the solution. Days. Team player. You got to collaborate. Collaborate with your group mates, collaborate with your classmates, and also now with things like Edmodo, you can collaborate on a larger scale. The internet is great because it allows for these wonderful worldwide collaborations. You just got to make sure that you're, using the internet safely. And we'll talk a little bit about that today with our Google Sites. Communicate. This is a big thing that gets stressed now when you're studying engineering. You want to be able to communicate effectively, to be able to explain some of your math and science. So those of you who are really, strong at English, maybe some of you that have done theater before or public speaking, that's going to help you. Or if you're interested in any of those things. So what I said before, the application of math and science for the betterment of society, and this is a similar definition. I think we may have gotten a little bit into this last week. Just a little bit of a repetition, but it's also a little bit of a review. Half of the jobs created today are the result of technology. So a lot of these IT jobs where you are looking at computers, looking to see what the problems are, working on those things within a building, working on systems within a building. Those jobs exist because you have those systems, these computers that businesses work on. But also, many jobs are being lost to technology. So jobs that used to take many people are now automated, which means that a machine will do them. And machines a lot of times can do certain tasks, not all tasks, but certain tasks, much better than a human. And when I mean better, I mean less error or quicker, like machine jobs. Oh, wow, I'm getting a lot of questions. Hold on. Okay, it's back. Okay. Anna, you might want to check your speaker connections. And if you type me a question, I'll check every once in a while and make sure I don't have a lot of questions. But just be patient, and I'll get back to you. If you really are having like a huge issue, raise your hand, because I can see when people raise their hands. Okay, wonderful. Any questions so far? You can raise your hand about what we've gone over so far today. I might be moving a little bit quickly, and maybe I can slow down a little bit in the pace. Here, let's do a poll real fast. We're going to do this poll on GoToWebinar. Oh, we have a question. Caitlin. Do you have a question, Caitlin?
Hi.
Hey.
Well, I'm a little confused when you say something like, half of the jobs are made by technology or anything like that.
That is a little confusing. I should spend more time on that. Thank you, Caitlin. Let me go back that slide because I did not clarify that very well. So, and then the next slides are going to clarify this a little bit. So let's talk about this. There are many new kinds of jobs coming out, and that's what that first sentence means. Jobs that have never existed before. Jobs where people are replacing iPhone screens. When you break your phone and it cracks. Well, there was never a job before where people replaced iPhone screens, because there were never iPhones before. So a lot of the new jobs being created are because of the technology that, we use all the time. However, some of the older jobs, some of the more traditional jobs that we've had for many years are being lost because we're able to create machines that do those jobs. So we have new kinds of jobs that have to do and relate with technology, but some of our older kind of jobs, and the example that we're going to see here, and let me go to it, This is an automated workplace. So if you can tell, these I'm pointing at it with my finger. That doesn't help. With my mouse, working on these tables, these robotic arms are able to move and pick things up and put them together. Each of the robotic arms has a really specific purpose. But also you can see here, there is a person there, and that person's job is to check on all these robotic arms and make sure that they're all working well. Again, this sort of job wouldn't exist before the invention of robotic arms. It's very new. But this is like a factory setting that it used to be humans putting together everything by hand. So it would be a lot and a lot and a lot of humans working on this factory floor putting things together. Now it's mainly robots. So we have this new job, someone that works in the robotic arms, and we've lost a lot of older jobs. Caitlin, I'm going to call on you again. Did that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good.
It made sense.
And we can look at it this other way too. We're kind of gaining these high skill jobs where you have like a technical occupation that you have to be really knowledgeable about robotic arms. That takes a lot of training, and we're gaining those. And we are gaining for other reasons that not necessarily directly related to technology. We're gaining some of the lower skill jobs, and we're losing a lot of the medium skill jobs. Maybe we don't have to get into this a lot, but this is something that you may hear about as well. If you had sort of like a production operations job on a factory floor, they might prefer you to have some sort of technical knowledge on that. That's what I'm going to say on that. Okay. We wanted to just talk a little bit about considering actually doing engineering, continuing to study engineering. I know you guys are very, very far away from choosing any sort of long-term career, but I think it's really important to, there's a lot of things people talk about, or you hear people talking about, being a doctor or a dentist or a lawyer as these really great jobs. Well, I want to introduce you to the idea that you could be an engineer. And, what this chart looks at, and this chart's a little bit old, but it looks at some of the highest salaries in across the board from all the colleges and universities, let's say in the United States, because I don't think this is an international. And they decided which ones pay the most right out of college and ultimately. So right out of college is this darker bar. And after someone has been doing this job for a really long time is this blue bar. So what does this chart look like? If you're a petroleum engineer, you can make a lot of money. This is the #1 job. And a petroleum engineer, could anyone raise their hands and tell me what a petroleum engineer might do? I don't know if you've ever heard the word petroleum. And maybe I'm completely wrong. Okay, Caitlin, wonderful. Hey, Caitlin.
Maybe when you work with fossil fuels and make petroleum for gas.
Awesome, that's right on. I love that term, fossil fuels. A petroleum engineer works with fossil fuels, and a lot of time you might work on something like an oil rig, getting them out of the ground, or it might work on trying to do something like I really hate the term clean fossil fuel because there's not ever really a clean fossil fuel, but work on ways to lower emissions for the fossil fuels we're already using. Okay, so this chart, it just tells you that a lot of these majors do end up making a lot of money, and that's a big draw. It's something to think about. But what I think young engineers of today really wants you to go away from, and I'm going to move back to this slide, because I think that I don't want to leave you with just, yeah, you can, make a lot of money if you're an engineer. There are many, many different kinds of engineers, and we'll go through that list again. But what's so great about being an engineer, even if you don't make a lot of money, is that you are a problem solver. If you like puzzles, if you like taking things apart and figuring out how they work, well, engineers get to do that kind of stuff on a daily basis. I've spoken to a lot of engineers who have talked to my classes in the past, and they say the best part of their job is that day to day, they don't do the same thing kind of over and over and over again. And so, start to think about yourself. Maybe picture yourself as an engineer, and see if that's something that you might want to do. And you can see there's a petroleum engineer, chemical engineer, and these people do a lot of a wide range of things, from working with chemicals for companies and manufacturing plants to working with things like pet food. Chemical engineering runs the gambit. Electrical engineering, anything from your computer to planes. Materials science and engineering, I think that's just a general engineering, and materials engineering. So we're going to learn about the different materials that are used in 3D printing. We'll learn a little bit more about that. Aerospace engineering, this one's very popular, looking at rockets and planes. Computer engineering, programming, and physical computing. All right, let's move on. So the first thing, in order to kind of see, oh, we have a question. Hi, Anna. What's your question?
Oh, I was just gonna ask what a petroleum engineer was, because I thought it was a scientist that worked with Vaseline or something, but now I know.
Okay. And I'm giving like a general overview of what they do. Something like a chemical engineer, there's so many different jobs you can get from that. It's hard to give like a really specific, well, you wake up in the morning and this is what every chemical engineer does. Okay, the scientific method. We're going to take a look at this, and we're going to differentiate the scientific method, which you may have learned in school. Raise your hand if you've learned the scientific method before. I'm not going to ask it to you. You don't have to tell me it from off the top of your head. Okay, cool. Wonderful. Well, so you might be a little familiar with this. We're going to go through all the slides here. Observation, observe the data sort of thing. And once you have a good understanding of what's going on, or you think you have a good understanding of what's going on, you make a guess on to how it works or why it works. And then based on that hypothesis, that claim that you make, you're going to experiment. You're going to test your hypothesis to see if it's true. And then you're going to look at the tests that you did and look at the results. And you're going to come to a conclusion. Was this hypothesis, was this claim that you made about the observations true, or was it false? And then once you're done with your experiments, this takes a long time, and there's a lot of setup here. You ask other scientists to take a look at your data and see if they agree with your conclusion. Now, I like this Albert Einstein quote, so I'm actually going to read it. Scientists investigate that which already is. Engineers create that which has never been. And the idea with engineering is that you take what these wonderful mathematicians and scientists have done. They've made all these great observations, and they've come up with these wonderful laws that describe our universe and describe our world. And now we're going to apply them, and we're going to use those to better society in a variety of different ways. The engineering method starts with, here we have research, plan, prototype, commercialize. And I'm actually within this research phase, or in my opinion, my experience, there's a phase right before this, and that's where you get your question or your problem. How can I make a plane operate with less fuel? How can we move away from fossil fuels? How can we make a system of roads that spans America? Right? There are these huge questions that engineers have solved. And first, they have to research, take a look at the science and math that lies behind their problem, make a plan. And a lot of times in the past, let's say it was a civil engineering project, so something like building a bridge. Will their problem or their question, how are we going to kind of span this gap? In the research method, they might do things like consider the materials that they would need to build the bridge. What kind of weather does this place get? What kind of materials would be good for that weather? And then they're going to do a lot of math in the research and plan phase to figure out how exactly that they're going to design this bridge so that it can hold up the weight of everyone crossing over it. They might build a prototype or an example of the bridge, like a smaller scale model, and then commercialize. And right, this bridge example is just kind of a small example, but the commercialize in this example would be building the actual bridge. Whereas if you were engineering something like, let's say, a cell phone, that would be actually mass producing that object, the cell phone. And the prototype would be an example cell phone that still works, but is only for a small group to use and test. Okay. Any questions on the engineering method? And you might be thinking, no, I don't have any questions on that, but we haven't really used it yet. And I think that you'll get a much better understanding of the engineering method once we actually see it in action. And you guys will do that in lab. So again, you're looking in the research phase, you're looking at mathematical principles, science principles, and also you're doing things like checking out the market. So my example was a bridge, a little bit different. If you are doing something like engineering a like software, you would be looking at the market that you're entering into. And by market, I mean like business market economy. Plan, identify kind of what needs to be solved, brainstorm ideas. And in this case, you want to brainstorm a lot of different ideas, select an idea and model it. So in a case like building something like a cell phone, before you have someone actually build a physical cell phone that works, that's the prototype stage, you want to create a model on the computer. And we'll take a look at that when we go into 3D printing, what it looks like to make a 3D model. And and you're going to use that to create this proof of concept, to take it to the people that are funding your research and say, hey, I can build this. All right, prototype, you want to build, test, and repeat. You want to prototype early, so it's a lot cheaper on the earlier end, and then production. All right, here's where going to more kind of the types of engineers, which you've seen. Mechanical engineers, we saw aerospace was an actual division. There are kind of these larger branches of engineering, and then within that, actually I don't have any questions. Oh. These aren't all the different kinds of mechanical engineering. Here are just some examples. So aerospace, can someone guess what an aerospace engineer does? Or you might know what an aerospace engineer does. If you want to raise your hand. Space. No brave souls. An aerospace engineer is someone that works on rockets. And actually aviation as well. So in aerospace and aviation, that's both going to be talking about flight. Automotive engineer. Someone know automotive engineer that wants to speak up? Ingrid, what do you say?
An automotive engineer is like someone who builds like cars, trucks, and like who just kind of designs the cars and the trucks that we drive.
Great, awesome. Thank you very much. Can you can anyone think about a question that an automotive engineer might ask? We always want cars that look cool, but what are some other qualities we like in our cars? All right. Mara, is it Mara?
Yeah.
Okay.
They might want to know how to get better gas mileage.
Absolutely. That's definitely something that car manufacturing companies are looking at right now. Thanks. Right. Let's see. Anna, what do you think?
I think they might want to design it so that it's more comfortable on the inside because if you want to get a car, you want to get one that'll do good on long trips and you won't get all bumped and bruised up when you're driving it.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I agree with that. You want a comfy car. And I know that, oh, Caitlin, anything else you want to add, Caitlin?
Maybe if you want to make sure that your oil is good and your oil change, so you can go far without having to get an oil change every once in a while.
Oh, great. Yeah. So that would be kind of like the performance of the engine, making sure you're not that the oil is you don't need to constantly replace the oil. So those are all really great examples of questions that an automotive engineer would ask, or sorts of things that they would want to take on. How can we make this car safer? How can we make this car more comfortable? How can we make this car better? And they're going to be applying mathematical and scientific principles and going through that process, doing their research, making plans, making models of cars, prototyping, and then bringing their car to market. I thought the automotive might be a good example there. Biomedical, we're going to take a look at when we do 3D printing, but this is someone that would be combining their knowledge of biology, their medical knowledge, and engineering knowledge. So if you have a good understanding of medicine, and there's it says biomedical here, but especially biomechanical. You can do things like engineer prosthetic limbs, and we'll take a look at that with 3D printing. Just mechanical engineering, there's a lot of different. This is a broad field where you can get a lot of different jobs working with machines, and then naval, working on boats. Okay. Oh, these are some sites of the wonderful different places that we're getting this stuff from. This is a little cartoon that talks a little bit about, well, what if you made a rope swing and you had all these different members of your team? You had the person that was asking for the rope swing, what their idea of the rope swing was in their mind, what the analyst, the first people to take a look at it, well, they thought this was kind of the rope swing that they were thinking about in their mind, and that's what they described to the designers. And you can see that everyone kind of had this different concept of how the rope swing was supposed to work. And then it kind of, at the bottom here, it gets a little bit cobbled together. Based off of these skills, let me jump back. Ooh. Which skill from this slide do you think would have helped make that a better rope swing? I know the cartoon was a little bit difficult to follow if you don't really have a programming knowledge. But people in the team weren't doing something. Team player, they were trying to be team players, but they weren't really doing something well. What do you think, Josie?
They weren't communicating.
Absolutely. The user wasn't, maybe they didn't have the language, maybe they didn't have the knowledge, but they weren't communicating what they wanted well. And so based on that, it's kind of like playing the telephone game where everything kind of gets shifted a little bit. And that's why in this first one here, this is, I know it's a little bit dated, 2013, but still, I think everyone would agree. The number one skill, note that this says in order of importance. The number one looked at attribute is communication skills. I mean, that's really incredible. Notice that GPA, and I know you all are still, a little bit distant from having to worry about GPA, but grades are still very important. So what grades that you get, that the GPA is like the average of all of your grades, is really low on the list compared to, this is employers, not college, but how you are able to communicate. And this is for Engineers Week. Communication, teamwork, interpersonal, which is relating well to others. It's really important, and it's something that we will work on in lab when you guys work in groups. And there'll be plenty of time to work on your own, but in lab. Okay, let's see what time it is. It is 6:36, and there are some really cool games, engineering games. Goldberger, there's a Rube Goldberg machine, and then there's a Trap-O-Matic. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the Google sites, and then we're going to leave class. At the end of class, I'll show you some of these games, and I'll send out these links so that after class is over, if you want to give them a try, you can. And this is going to test your problem-solving skills. And they're fun. They're like little puzzles. So there's a few, and we can try these. But again, we're going to do that at the end of class. Now let me see if there are any questions. Ooh, can I go see the cartoon? Can you go back to the, yes, absolutely. I think, oh, and Annika. Okay. Raise your hand if you can hear me. Let me see, hold on. Let me go back to the cartoon and let me see if people are still having a hard time hearing me. Okay. I know someone was having trouble hearing me at one point. Okay. We'll see what their response is in that. Let me put everyone's hands down. This is the cartoon. All right. I know my computer seems to be moving at a snail's pace today. I apologize. Giving everyone a moment to kind of check out this. All right. We're going to move on. And we're going to be talking about HTML today, which is how language works kind of on the internet, how our computers are able to send these files computer to computer, and we see what we see in our web browser. Google Chrome is a web browser. Safari is a web browser. Internet Explorer is a web browser. And we'll get into that, but okay. So it actually is going to take us a little bit to actually get to Google Sites, which is going to be slide 57. Wow, okay. Let's, we will get to that. Do not worry. First, HTML. How does it work? And then we're going to talk about the editor and the web host. And we're going to make a very basic web page. This, your actual ePortfolio is not going to be a very basic web page. We're actually going to type in HTML using tags a very, very basic web page. Okay, so why are we creating a Google site? And again, we're going to get to this in a little bit. We're demonstrating our learning. It's a way that you can keep pictures of what you do in lab and what we do on these online classes, on these webinars. There's that word. And you can keep track of it as the semester goes. so we can show off our work and projects and show other people how awesome you are and then demonstrate your learning. Google site is excellent. The reason we're using it is because it's customizable. It has these templates. It's just an easy way to set up a web page. Before we go any further, there are some really, really important internet safety tips we need to go over. Never at any point should you share information about your family, relatives, or friends. You should not share your full name, your address, your phone number, or the location of your house to anyone on the internet. And that is because that's really true. When you put up a web page, everyone is going to have kind of access to that web page. And Google does a good job. We're going to make the site private. Well, there's two options. You could make the site so that only you can see it. And we'll definitely get information to parents about this as well, if you're a parent listening on, so that no one else but you and your username can look at the site. Or you can set up the site so that if you email out, let's say, your grandparents or your friends or your cousins, if you email them the link, then they'll have access to it. But even if you do these options, it's just really safest to just always practice these two internet techniques. And this isn't something, just because you're in middle school. I don't post my address or phone number anywhere on the internet. It's not safe to have that out there. So you don't want to post any personal information. You absolutely don't want to talk about the location of your house. You do want to talk to your parents that you have a Google site, and then we're gonna go over these safety things here. Let's see, Anna has a question. Whoa. No. Oh, okay. When we subscribe, Caitlin, I'll go back over subscriptions at the end, but it's on Edmodo. If you're on Edmodo, the link is on there, and I'll have the date of the week. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. So just go into Attitude. This is a public site. This is a general rule. I know that some of you are going to make your sites private, which is a good thing to do. But still, then kind of Google has access to that information, so it can be seen by someone. And this isn't to make you super afraid of the internet, so that you never want to go on the internet. But it's something that you need to be aware of and kind of walk into understanding where your information is going out there. And you just want to put appropriate information and a safe amount of information on your site. You do want to post stuff about your projects, pictures of your projects, but you don't want to put pictures of yourself. And this is without your parents' permission. But you definitely don't want to put pictures of your friends without their permission. And without, you just, as a general rule, you don't want to do it unless you hear explicitly, talk to their parents, or your parents talk to their parents. It's just safer that you can show them that photo. And if they want to put that photo on their site, I'm talking about on Lab too. Maybe if you work with a group mate, you don't want to put their photo up on the internet. Just as I kind of advise that it's better just to put a photo of your project up on the internet. Okay. All right. Any questions about internet safety? Great. HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. If you ever wondered what that HTML stands for, here we go. And it actually is it's pretty young. Only, what is it now? 24 years old? Probably a little less. But it became the standard for websites in 2000. The internet was still pretty quote unquote young in 1991. And the idea for connecting computers, being able to send files to, from computer to computer, was pretty old, but the internet didn't look like what it looks like today until around 2000. Still looked very different, but the way that it works. Every single website today uses HTML, which means that, if you're interested in being a web designer or a blogger or having a web page, because maybe at any point, know that people still use HTML. Oh my gosh. At the core, even if you're using a cool program like Google Sites, because we won't be typing HTML into Google Sites, Google Site is writing the HTML code for us. And we'll take a look at what that means. There have been several versions of HTML. Big versions. We're on HTML5 now. It is actually not the newest version. And this is like a lot of extra information. We don't have to really worry about it. But HTML5, it is going to be the standard. Yes, Ella.
Hi, I'm just really confused. Like, how do I make a Google site and all of that stuff?
Absolutely, Ella. We are going to get to that. We have not gotten to that point yet. We are going to make a Google site as a group. We're each going to make our own, but I'm going to show you by making a Google site while you make your Google site. At this point, you should not have made your Google site yet. Good question. So the way HTML works, you have an actual document, and we're going to take a look at that in a second. And the document kind of looks like this. You have these strange little brackets. Looks like a less than sign and a greater than sign, and in between them, you have these, texts, these characters. They say HTML, hypertext markup language. Here you see head, title, and you also see these backslashes in some of these brackets. And these are called tags, and we'll get to this in a little bit. And the HTML doc goes to these servers. You might recognize the HTTP from the beginning. Let's take a look. HTTP up here. And then it goes to these different browsers. And the reason that we need HTML, this standard, is so that these, which are actually just applications, just pieces of software that come with your computer that are free, which is nice, can open up these different web pages that people write in HTML, and that no matter what browser you're using or what computer you're using, the web page looks the same. And then we get, all our users at home can see the information. HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and it's the basis for how your computer and YouTube talk in order for you to get YouTube at home. So, you go, that's kind of the detail that we're going to go to at this point. This is not necessarily how the internet works. We're going to be looking more at HTML. But it's important to see that while there's storage for the HTML file, it's going to be your computer and your browser that translates the information. Browsers, so Firefox, Safari, actually not sure what this one is, Chrome or Internet Explorer. These are software applications that take the HTML file, which looks like this, and it makes it this beautiful web page that you see in front of you. And so sometimes the coding is faster than others, and sometimes if a page has a lot of images on it or has a lot going on, it might take a longer time to load than pages that are much simpler. And we'll take a look at that. When you are a professional web designer or you're someone that is making a lot of web pages from scratch by hand, you're going to use software like Dreamweaver. Dreamweaver is actually what I use in my web design class. And what it does, you can see that you still are able to type in HTML, and this actually does not show that. That's not very helpful for me right now. But you're able to do some drag and drop create. It just makes it a little bit easier to create something like a website. On Wednesday, we are going to use either Notepad or TextEdit to create a really simple web page that you can open on your computer that you can open using Google Chrome or TextEdit. So we will make our Google Sites on Wednesday. We just got to get through all the basics, so hang in there, we'll get there. And we will do the HTML on Wednesday as well. I want to give a chance for those of you who want to see these problem-solving games. I will send this out. And then this is also a great time if you are having trouble. Let's start with this one because I think this one's pretty cool. It's like a Rube Goldberg machine. You've heard of those, the really crazy machines that do things kind of one at a time. So I just sent that out in chat. This one is also like a Rube Goldberg machine where you use simple machines like pulleys and levers. That's a lever right there, and that's a system of pulleys. And here you're trying to build these traps that trap the mouse. So these are things you don't have to play right now. Maybe I'll put them up on Edmodo as well so that you can find them. But it's a good little educational game for you. And this will be a good time if you have any questions. I can go over how to get to Edmodo if you can't figure out Edmodo. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Josie, thank you for the heads up on that. Sound check is okay, but I cannot hear you. It might be my volume itself. Hannah, put your hand up if you don't mind, if you can hear me better right now. Oh, I'm sorry, Anna. I meant Hannah, who's also having trouble, but I'm glad that you can hear me better. Wait, I'm going to have everyone put their hand down. Can you all hear me better now? Raise your hand if you can hear me better now. All right. I'm just changing how I'm holding the computer. I will definitely know that for next time. I apologize. Let's see here. I'm pretty familiar with Google Sites. I made a Minecraft site for just me and my friends at school. Very cool, Anna. I thought it stood for Hotmail. Interesting. I did not know Hotmail had its own thing. Okay, sound check is okay. All right. So when you guys want to find me on YouTube, let's check this out. You can go to this playlist, and I've posted this playlist on Edmodo, and I'll post it here. And just by going to the site, by following that URL, you'll be able to get to the playlist, and I'll update every week. So here is, oh man, from 121. Let me change the name of this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. That should say 121 at 7 p.m., not the 2nd of January at 7 p.m. And this will just update weekly. Anyone else have any questions? For right now, let's see. Looking for my chat. Okay. Oh. Here we go. No more questions right now. Okay. Also in Edmodo, if you did not last week get a chance to take this survey, please go ahead and take the survey. The information is invaluable, and Mr. Divick appreciates everyone that has taken the time to take the survey so far. All right. Raise your hand if you are playing one of the games and you want to tell me how it's going so far. No one? We don't have any takers so far. Hey, Mr. Divick, are you there? Oh, Caitlin, you're on Imaginon, not Winston-Salem. So can you send the games to my email? The link for games is in chat. While Anna, I'm not sure I can send the games to your email. I can definitely send them to Edmodo. I just don't have access to your email. Or if you want to send an email to Young Engineers of Today, I can respond with the games. Anna Windsor. Or if you want to check, I can definitely post them to Edmodo. Caitlin, I'm not sure if you're saying that you need to be on Winston-Salem. Caitlin, do you mind? I'm going to take you off mute for a second. Hey, Caitlin.
Oh, what I mean is I accidentally signed into the Winston-Salem thing, so I re-logged into Modo and got into the Imaginon one.
Awesome. Okay, look at that perseverance and problem solving. Perfect. Can you send the links? It's okay. Sure. I will send the links to that email. Absolutely. Is anyone else having trouble with any Edmodo? Or the other thing is, on Wednesday we will get to actually making the Google sites. So is anyone having trouble making a Google account? And remember, if you you know, Google asks you to be 13 to make an account, so you might have to make it with your parents, where they can make an account and kind of give you the login information as well. So we can work together. Raise your hand if you've already either already have a Google account or you made one for your site. Great. I see a lot of raised hands. Awesome. Wonderful. All right, I'm going to put those hands down. I will post these games on Edmodo, and I will send them to your email as well, Anna. I'm going to jump off for this evening. Again, if you got here late, we went over what it means to be an engineer. You know, maybe we took a look at what it would mean if you wanted to study engineering later, maybe study it in college, or you know, grow up and be an engineer. And then we got started learning a little bit about how HTML works, and learned things like what your HTTP stood for, and how your browser worked. And we're going to continue with that. Need the games on Admito. Okay, people are excited for the games. I will go ahead and post that here. Y'all can watch me. I don't blame you. These games are pretty great. Oh no, wrong thing. Wow, I didn't know you could do that. That was pretty neat. Oh, okay. Whoops. Oh dear. All right, let me send this off. Have a wonderful Tuesday and Wednesday, and I will see you Wednesday evening. Check, make sure there are no more immediate questions. All right, have a good one.